Yeah. So let's talk about cheap. Okay. Because this is a big one. Okay. I cannot support cheap. I cannot support low level work. And let's explain exactly why. What I do is not easy, first and foremost. There's this misunderstanding in the world that web is somehow easy, and there's AI and you press a couple buttons and the whole thing is done on your behalf. And then somehow it's coded for you properly in WordPress and launched. And that's all nonsense. Okay. Too heavily of a push on AI and all this benefit and all how easy the web design space is. It's not. There's something called curse of knowledge, and I have it. What does that mean? It means that once you know how to do something, you can't undo it. And I don't want to do half-assed bullshit work, okay? I don't want, oftentimes I'll get calls and literally within 5 seconds, someone says, this just happened to me yesterday. How much is a website? I said, how much is a car? I don't know. There's many different cars, but again, the point
is— That's a good line, by the way.
Thank you.
How much is a car?
How much is a car? I don't know.
Yeah.
There's so many options, right? Yeah. I try to standardize pricing based on output. In my little mind, that's the way that I can, if you want 1 page, here's the price. You want 10 pages, here's the price. You want 40 pages, here's the price. Generally, my clients aren't asking me for some complex things most of the time. It's 95% of the time they want great design. Yeah. They want it to look beautiful. They want it to convert. They want it to load fast. They want no BS. That's what my clients want. If my clients could have a sign and they come to me, they just said, we have digital trauma from the past. We've worked with a-holes in the past that didn't respect us and didn't respect our outcomes. And I don't want to repeat that again, right? Yeah. That's like what every client says. That's essentially it. And recently, a very, very smart individual in this building had a conversation with me and said, I cannot support cheap. Why? This gentleman is in the home services business. He said, why is the conversation always going to money first? Why is it not about value? He said, do you want the cheapest car? Do you want the cheapest clothes? Do you want the cheapest food? No, you want the best value for the money that you're spending. And you must be educated as to what it is that you want and things that are available to you, right? So yesterday, when the guy asked me how much is the website, I said to him, my projects are usually generally in the $4,000 or $5,000 range is what I find. And he says to me, I was looking to spend a couple hundred. I said, sir, go to Wix, go to Squarespace, pour a glass of wine, get your nephew to come help you, roll up the sleeves, choose a template, put a couple pieces of info, give them the $29.95, whatever that looks like. I'm exaggerating, but that's good for you. That's what you want. If your outcome, if what you want is the $29 option, how can you don't call a professional and ask me to do services? It doesn't make any sense. And it's not his fault. He's not educated.
I was just going to say, is it a symptom? You just don't know what
He doesn't know. He doesn't know. Nobody knows. Oftentimes people say to me, Alex, sometimes you say things we don't understand. I'm in it 10, 12 hours a day. I know WordPress, right? They're like, what the hell is WordPress? So it's just a lack of education. Let's take it another step further.
Okay.
By the way, I've started to get really thoughtful, great comments from people on YouTube about my content, which is so interesting. Okay. Yes. And it blows me away.
As you should, by the way.
Thank you. But it blows me away that people are taking the time to write me thoughtful things. And by the way, they don't agree with me sometimes, right? One in particular, I actually think I'm going to come back and I'm going to specifically do some videos that it's impossible for me to write a long, thoughtful comment on, so I might actually make some content specific to some of the comments I make, but people are really making interesting comments. And, one recently said something to the tune of, that I seem to, not everybody can afford the, let's say, custom prices that I'm offering and everything. And to say, okay, look, what does afford mean, right? If the cheap option is $1,000 or $1,500 and I'm proposing you spend 2 or 3 times that, you said it before, you're going to pay double, triple over the life. You're going to have potentially, not in every case, there's wonderful freelancers. I'm not saying there isn't, right? I don't know everybody in the world, but generally I guarantee you that there's a very high percentage that you're going to hire an inferior group. They're going to give you an inferior product and you're going to end up with just something that just sucks, that isn't right. And you'll end up redoing it in the future. So next, I have a I was going to say significant, but I'll change it to say massive cost associated with what I do, right? This isn't just, this just doesn't, I don't just wave a magic wand and this stuff just happens, right? I have really significant, massive costs associated with what I do. Primarily, it's the human capital, right?
There's warm bodies actually doing stuff.
Damn good, qualified people on my team that are all better than me at everything that they do that are costly. Number two, what about the marketing, right? To open the doors of a business, to get that individual to call. Again, it's not the problem of the customer, but that's the reality, right? There are significant costs associated. I would venture to say dozens of line items on an expense sheet that are not related to the actual work being done on a client account.
Which, real quick, by the way, these line items on an expense sheet or marketing and all this other stuff, you're right. Some people wouldn't care, or that's got nothing to do with them. But in a sense, it does, because each one of these items I'm sure makes you are what you are as a company. They're the reason why you're so gangster at what you do. They're the reason why you operate at such a high level. It's because of all these warm bodies program, whatever it is. I don't know, your world.
To open the door costs massive amount of money.
And that's why you're getting the good service.
Yeah, it has to, right? Yeah. It has to. Look, I'll give you some
quality of work, I should say.
Some example. Yeah. Each developer on my team, 10 plus year veteran, right? My system admin, 35-year veteran of system administration.
Jeez.
I mean, I'll tell you, I'll make a statement. When I was earlier on in my career, I was looking for the cheapest because I couldn't afford anything else, right? I was doing the best I could at that time, right? And I was looking for great, but I wasn't getting great because I couldn't afford it. Or my mind shifted to, I want the most expensive teammate. I don't want the least expensive, because oftentimes the most expensive will do it 5 times faster. It ends up being the same money. It ends up being the same money because of the lack of hassle and the lack of nonsense.
Yeah.
Now, I have such wonderful teammates, I can't say it strong enough, that, who said this recently? Hormozy said this recently. Love that guy. He said that the more talented somebody is, the less input you need to give them in order to produce the result that you desire. So now I can literally open my phone, send a voice note that's like garbled for 10 seconds, and that thing that I want is finished.
Yeah.
It's incredible, right? It's incredible.
There's no other feeling.
Yeah.
So I always call him my editor, which he is. He's the main editor for the business, but he's also kind of like my right hand. He's been with me for a long, long time. In fact, speaking of podcasts and stuff, he used to listen to my podcast 10 years ago while he was in high school.
It's incredible.
That's how long we've had this connection.
Yeah.
We're up now to that point where I can send a half-assed garbled text that may not make no sense to nobody.
Yes.
He'll know exactly what I'm saying.
Yes.
And not only will he go and execute, he'll think ahead and do extra shit because he just knows.
He knows.
What needs to be done, how it should be done, all that. I can't tell you, I mean, you know this too, but I can't tell you how valuable that is to have in your life as a business owner, as someone who's trying to do multiple things. Because I heard this the other day, speaking of statements, you got to move slow to move fast, and then never mind, I'm gonna mess it up.
No worries.
It's from the military, because I was saying it and I said it to someone else and they're like, yeah, that's from the military. But it was so freaking genius. It so genius I forgot it. But it's like, essentially it's, you got to move slow to move smooth, and you move smooth to move fast.
Interesting. I have a lot of military clients.
Sense?
I'm going to bring this up to them.
Yeah, but it's the way it's worded. It's so true. It's basically like Bruce Lee, be like water or like a duck, where you just cruising, whatever. But it's very true. To scale it back down, that's what I think of when I think of those types of relationships, are people on your team that are also invested in your success and the client's success and the customer's success. You have a culture of we're here to support you. And the fact that we've been doing it at least on my side, similar to you guys, so long, and we all have this experience and systems and processes. We've already stubbed our toe on the corner of the coffee table.
Yes.
A bunch
Endless
of times. We already know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, don't trip over that, or don't do this thing or that thing, whatever it is, because in reality, it's going to end up costing you X amount of dollars, or it's going to take you out an extra 2 days, which is a lot worth more than money is time. So
I couldn't, it's music to my ears. You know, again, I come back to the statement of I'm looking for the best and the brightest, right? And my team, thank God, continue to perform at a very high level because, you know, it's a mixture of they're extremely good at what they do and they also know what I want and expect, right? And I said this in another session of ours that I think I'm the nicest guy in the world, but I also have, you know, supposedly, but I also have high expectations, right? I demand things to be done correctly. We must, because if not, we will be thrown into a chaos. And we don't deserve it. Our clients don't deserve it. And we have to continue to improve the status quo. That's what I want in my professional life. I want to continue to improve and improve and improve so that, you know, incremental changes over a long period of time, you would be amazed where you are in a year or in a year and a half. If you just are that, I'm trying to remember I read a book years ago, The Compound Effect, Darren Hardy, rockstar book, unbelievable. That's exactly the point, is that incremental steps in the right direction, you would be amazed where you are at the end. And again, my clients deserve it. And I just want to say in such a strong way, there are wonderful freelancers in the world. Please don't misunderstand me. There are wonderful people that can output more than I can at a cheaper price. I'm sure it exists, right? But it comes down to the ability to finish the project, and it comes down to a care of the outcome that I think is so critical. And one must be educated before going out into the marketplace and saying, I want a website. Maybe the cheap template option that you want for a business card or just to prove that you're open for business or something, maybe that's sufficient for you. And if that's the case, I'm not the right person for you. There's better options, right? But if there's a business outcome, if you're spending money, sending traffic to the website, these things all become critical. You can't screw around with cheap. Cheap is the most expensive, right? If you have to keep fixing it and keep changing it and it doesn't do what it's supposed to do.
Is there, and this is just a random question, slow is smooth and smooth is fast? I think that's it.
I like that.
Slow is smooth. Anyway, is there like a, how do I ask this? Like a type of business that makes a certain amount of revenue per year that you work with, or is it kind of,
no,
or should they have a minimum per year for it to make sense for them to work with you? Or, because I'm trying to think, not to belabor the subject, but I'm trying to think, okay, they're watching you and they're like, I literally have no money. I believe you. What am I going to do? You know what I mean? Like, is there something you can recommend or tell, or before they?
I would rather make a deal with a client that sees the value in me on terms of payment, rather than going elsewhere and getting shit. Okay.
I love that you said that, because most people probably don't even think to ask, hey, do you have terms?
Listen, you know what I often say? I'm the owner. I don't need to ask anyone for advice. Or, excuse me. I don't have to ask anyone for their approval. You know, you're the owner. I'm the owner. We can make a deal together. Okay. It's not like I'm charging 10x or 20x or 50x of what somebody else would charge. It's not true. That's not the case. But I can't, I'm not going to play the race to the bottom game. I can't support it, right? Someone sees the value. Someone says, this is the type of person that I want to work with. Talk to me.
I like that.
Have a conversation.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.